I'm Shannon with Guarantee Real Estate, and I've been so really honored to bring on in our next guest and invite our next guest. Back in 2005, it wasn't long after I first started getting into real estate, I met these guys and their company called HouseMaster. And for a newbie agent, meeting guys like this, let me tell you, is a huge godsend. I remember going to a talk where they were giving, and I listened to them speak. And they spoke about something called insurance, and I was thinking, wow, so this is actually the first time I've actually heard a home inspector talk about insurance. I said, I wonder what that's all about. They spoke about liability insurance and errors and omissions, and that was actually one of the first times I'd actually heard that term. Well, since then, we work together on a regular basis, and I can tell you that even if they have errors and omissions service or insurance, I can tell you that for the most part, they probably have never used it. If you've been honored to be able to work with the guys at HouseMasters, you'll compare their home inspection reports to everyone else's, and theirs are like 40 pages, and most home inspection reports you'll see are maybe like 1 or 2 pages at best. And theirs have pictures, and not only that, but you can pick their brains at will as to what they found while the inspection is going, and also just after it's completed. So in light of that, we wanted to talk about specifically for those of us in the investor group who are investors, buy and hold investors, or buy and flip investors. We want to talk about potential red flags that you could find on these properties. It's extremely important because, as we all know, if you find a ton of stuff, that could wipe out your projected profit on a particular deal. So without further ado, I want to introduce Joel Hignojoz and Don Martin of HouseMaster.
Thank you. I'm Joel, and he's Don. One thing that I'll just mention really quick, some of the things, little perks that HouseMaster does have, like you mentioned, we're fully covered. We carry our E&O insurance. We also carry professional liability insurance. And some of the things that we have that makes it really easy with the report is our delivery system. If you have, for example, a lender that needs to see the report, you as the buyer that needs to see the report, or anyone else, any other agents that need to see it, we can make it real simple just by receiving an email information from the person, and we can distribute it as soon as the report's completed. You all will be able to have it. It's really nice. It's a web delivery system. It comes directly to your email, and so it's really nice. Like you mentioned, all the reports are narrative reports, and also shows the pictures, explaining everything that we're doing in detail, and so it's really neat. We didn't bring a sample today, but you can get a look at our website, which is housemaster.com, and we have our local offices here, which we cover Bakersfield and Kern County and Fresno County. We're also out in Kern County, so we've done a lot of the areas here, and I'm recently doing home inspections here in Fresno with Shannon. I met him, like he said, several years ago. We've spoken already at the real estate
the Board of Realtors.
The Board of Realtors here several times, and we've been invited there back at least 3 different times that we've spoken. So without further ado, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to present Don, and he will speak a little bit about some of our handouts, and we'll get started with the program.
Got a presentation, 100 or so defect photos. Some of them are obscure, and some of them are just fun to look at. But before I jump into that, I wanted to talk just briefly about the handouts that we have, and you can go over the handouts in detail later for you to take home, obviously. Our subject is, of course, deal or no deal. Just because it looks like a deal doesn't mean that it's a deal. We want to discover the defects and the issues with that property, let you know what that is so that that can factor into your decision on whether or not it's going to be an appropriate investment. We've got a flyer here called the top 5 conditions, and this is a nationwide survey of HouseMaster offices asking the inspectors what are the conditions that you're finding the most on foreclosed properties. And some of them are a little bit more relevant in other parts of the country, but the biggest one, number 1, is moisture problems. And we do see a lot of moisture issues in homes that have been sealed up. We could have leaks that have not been addressed when they've closed the house up, and so those are going to continue to get worse while they're sealed up. Vandalism, of course, we all know that's a huge issue in all these foreclosed homes. All kinds of unwelcome guests from bugs and animals and stuff in different parts of the country. That could be, or even when you get up in the hills outside of town here, that you could have a tremendous amount of problems with raccoons or different kinds of animals that get into these houses. So anyway, that'll give you something you can go over. Another one is, how does your home measure up? And it's a list of major areas of the house and different age categories. In a survey of 2,000 home inspection reports, they've given statistical numbers of what we find for problems in houses from 0 to 12 years old, 13 to 29, and 30 plus years old. I'll just deal with a couple of items on the first column. Major structural concerns. We'll have 9.11%, so almost 9% of houses in the 0 to 12 age category can have structural concerns, and you wouldn't necessarily automatically think that that's going to be something that's going to be relevant to older houses, but it's going to be absolutely part of the new construction also. Almost 20% of newer houses have some sort of roof repair requirements, okay, whether a tile roof or a comp roof. We see the whole gamut. We can have electrical systems modified even on new houses and have issues with those, 14%. Aluminum wiring is something that we don't see a lot of here. Our numbers in this area are probably about 20% of what we see across the country, but we still have maybe 1 out of 100 or 150 houses in this area have aluminum wiring in it. About half of those are going to be in mobile homes, and aluminum wiring on the 110 branch circuits, big fire issue, and it's an expensive repair. So that's something we're always on the lookout for, and you don't necessarily, you're not going to see that unless you open up the electrical box and really take a really hard look at the underlying systems. Of course, we're running the central heating and central cooling systems, looking for issues there. And then the last thing on the list is foundations, and those are, it's a big issue if you got a foundation problem. So we're going to look at all of those things during our home inspection. So anyway, those handouts are for you to look at in a little bit more detail when you get a chance. And we'll start on our presentation here. We're going to spend a little bit of time in attic areas and crawl spaces, and we'll also jump into some other areas. If we look at these two areas and the number of defects that we typically find in